We're on. G'day and welcome back to another episode of the show. I am your host, is your boy, the captain of the ship, the man in charge, Bradley J. Dryburgh. You can call me Brad. We're here in the studio, new and improved, looking pretty fancy. If you're watching this through video, you'd see we've got some light now. So I still look shit, but we've got some light. It's a good vibe. And the studio looks pretty. The studio looks nice. We've got the Duff Man behind the camera doing his thing. We've got an incredible guest here. And today we've got a lot to talk about. It's the name of the show. It's the reason we're here. It's what we're here to do. Coffee's in hand. Shout out to the King, Jonah Sullivan, for brewing a few of those up. And I'm going to intro today's guest. You know how it is. We always freestyle from the top. So let me see what I've got. Today's guest is wonderful and lovely. We've just been for a sunrise walk. We've had a bit of a chat. She's got an incredible personality. She is what you would call a social influencer, but there is so much more to her than that. She is an incredible voice for self-love, an incredible voice for women, especially in their 20s and in the youth, who have the social expectations and that crazy expectation of life that is handed down in each and every one of us in 2021, the pressures of social media, the pressures of falling in love, finding relationships, maintaining them, staying healthy, looking the part, and all of that. But as we always say on the show, that with that expectation, nobody ever has it figured out. And she does an incredible job of being honest about that, being really raw, being vulnerable on camera. And that's the thing that attracted me to have her here in the studio today. So from your home, your car, or wherever you are, give a very warm welcome to the one, the only, the very lovely Ruby Grace.
Thank you so much. That was a really lovely intro. I feel a bit of my
head
has been enlarged.
I try to be lovely in the intro. We've got to pump you up. We've got to make you feel good.
You got to make me, you got to sell me to the guests.
And I've got to say thank you because you've driven down from Sydney. Anyone who knows me well and has a personal relationship with me knows that if I say I'm going to be somewhere at a time, I'm definitely not. I'm going to be there 5 to 10 minutes late. It's never too late. It's always 5 to 10 minutes. And
not like rude, like not a rude amount of
rudeness. Like, it's cute rudeness, I call it.
Fashionably
where
late.
It's kind of a little bit like, it's not annoying, but like, fuck, you should be here. And you called me this morning. I was in my bathroom, blow drying my hair after a cold shower. And I was like, fuck, it's 6:30. And I answered very sheepishly because I was like, I'm going to turn the hairdryer off first because I don't want to think I'm 15 or 20 minutes away.
I was like, oh, he's really echoey. I wonder if he's in the bathroom. I did think that. Yeah. And then I was like, I wonder how long I'm going to sit here for.
A morning
but
ritual is...
quick.
I was quick.
You were.
A morning ritual is I have a cold shower. So I was having my cold shower just to freshen up. And I want to say, before we get into today's chat, if I'm a little bit behind on my words and my language, I'm surviving off very minimal sleep. And you know, it's a long weekend. Most people are out on the piss, they're having a good time. Not me. I was at the footy on Saturday night and decided to get up for a run yesterday on 3.5, 4 hours sleep. And I ate a lot of food last night at Mum's house. I'm in a bit of a food coma. Breakfast will be hard to get down this morning, but you can bet it will happen. But look, we're here to chat. Really excited to have you.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
No, it's good. It's
well
a good
worth
energy.
the drive.
It's a good energy. It's a good energy. Like I said, we got the chance to chat a little bit before off camera, which I love to do.
Yeah.
Because it always gives me an idea of who you are as a person. We've chatted a little bit over social, but it's always nice to meet someone face to face. It's a good energy, and you have a great energy. You got a good personality. And I love what you do. You really shed light on the vulnerabilities of life. And if we get a little bit serious for a minute, a big part of this podcast and the evolution of the brand, that makes it sound really big, the brand.
Sounds exotic.
Is sort of finding our people, finding our lane. And ultimately the people who love and listen to this show and watch this show, shout out to you all. Like, they're all in their 20s. Yeah. Well, a good majority of them are. And they're all facing the same life challenges. And I know in our 20s we hate righteous people, right?
Yeah.
We hate the people that make out they've got it all figured out, but they don't. We love vulnerability. We love the rawness, the realness. And we love hearing that we're not the only people struggling through our situation.
For sure.
That whatever cards we're dealt, other people are dealing with too. And I love that you really bring light to that on social. So let's talk a little bit about your journey and What's brought you to where you are? That question that you love so much.
The question I love so
Who
much.
is Ruby Grace?
Oh, wow. Big one. As you said, getting deep, I'm someone who's a pretty open book, so I'm happy to talk about anything. But I guess for me, like, my journey started when I grew up in a rural town for high school, and I just never felt like I belonged. I always felt like I was a bit of an outcast, and I felt like I was always having to pretend to be someone I wasn't in order to fit in and be liked and to feel like I was good enough. And that's when I kind of started noticing boys and, you know, like, boys in high school, they have, like, their tricks and their games. Like, yeah. I remember really vividly in year 8 liking this boy, and he got dared to, like, sit with me at lunch and pretend to be into me, and I was really excited. And then he didn't ever come and sit, and he was like, oh, it was just a joke, like, it was just a dare, I didn't actually like you. And I was like, ugh.
Guarantee you did, though. I feel like that's boys, right?
I just cried.
I feel like that's boys at school, though, right? They make out they don't like girls. It's like, you know, what's that show where Malcolm in the Middle,
yes.
Reese, the older brother,
yeah.
he really likes that chick, and she's taking a drink from the bubbler, and he hits her head on the bubbler.
Yeah.
It's his way of, like, showing that he likes her, but guys at that age don't know how to express that they like someone.
Well, that was the wrong way to express it, because
Definitely
then I
wrong.
was really upset. But then throughout, like, high school, I guess it was that feeling like, you know, not knowing where I sat and not ever having a stable group of friends. I felt like every friend group I was with, I wasn't sure if when I got up and left, if I was going to be the topic of conversation. And that was something that I was always really frightened of, that, like, you know, I would sit with people who I was friends with, and by no means am I saying I didn't gossip and do all of that. I 100% did to fit in, but I was always like, when I get up and leave, I'm going to be the topic. And there was, where we lived in this small town, there was a lot of, like, gossiping and rumours and just really bitchiness, and I just never liked it. And then coming out and going into uni was then, like, a whole nother group of friends, and it was just about, I had a really bad breakup when I was about 17, 18.
Yeah.
And that was something that I made my mental health hit an all-time low. And I started seeing a therapist and working through things then. And that was when I kind of realised that so much of my happiness was based in other people. Like, if someone else, like, if a relationship or if a boy didn't, like, stay, or if, you know, I didn't get the validation of someone I needed, or if a friend didn't work out, or whatever it might be, my happiness was so affected by other people.
Yeah.
Like, it was never within me. I always was, and that's probably when I struggled the most with, like, my body during that time, because, you know, when I was saying about that boy in year 8, like, you know, and rumours and bitchiness, it was always about the way I looked. And I remember, I think it was like year 9 or year 10, I started getting, like, calls from Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers, and boys in my school were signing me up to it and putting my number down.
Fuck, some humans are cruel, hey?
Yeah. And it was like, that's when I was always like, oh, I'm like, I don't look good enough. That's why boys don't like me. That's why I'm this. That's why I'm that. And it was like little things that obviously were just pranks to them and, like, jokes to them, and they didn't think it was anything, but it really affected me.
Can I ask quickly, have any of those people reached out to you post-school and been like, I was so cruel at school, I'm so sorry?
No. I don't know. Like, a couple of the boys who were, like, cruel and nasty, like, when we were in, like, year 8 and 9, were, like, really nice to me in year 12, and, like, we always got along really well. And it's funny because the guy who actually stood me up at the year 8, he wanted to date me in year 12, and I was like,
hey,
no.
I was gonna say because you're saying that, and I'm like, if you're not watching this, you're gorgeous. So, like, there'd be so many of those guys now that are sitting there thinking, fuck, I've got no chance now. Exactly. Give him the bird, flip him the bird.
Just flipping the bird. Yeah, so, and then my relationship when I was, I had, like, 2 quote-unquote serious relationships, not really that serious, more a trauma bond, but the first one, I was 16, he was a lot older than me, and he would literally always tell me that I wasn't his type. He would always be like, no, my type's, like, blondes with big boobs. And if you are watching this vlog right now, I'm literally brunette with no chest. So I was like, great, I'm not your type. But I was, like, in love with him. So I was like, oh, okay. And it was always, like, little comments like that. And then the boyfriend after that was the same. Always comments about the way I looked. would always say that I'd be happier if I was skinnier, would always like, you know, be like, oh, you shouldn't eat that. Like, why are you eating that? And so it was like this constant thing of like, I'm not good enough. I need to look a certain way. If I looked a certain way, they wouldn't treat me like this. If I was skinnier, if I had blonde hair, if I looked a certain way, I would be respected. I would be treated better. Guys wouldn't say this to me. And that's what then spiraled my mental health, and also like my binge eating and obsession with the thin idealistic that social media absolutely fucking praises. Every single diet ad, every single influencer who would promote a waist trainer, skinny teas, gummies, intermittent fasting, you name it, I did every single thing. And after the breakup when I was like 18, I lost 11 kilos in like 2 months. So I was like hardcore, like tracked 1,100 calories, did like 2 1-hour walks a day, trained for an hour. Like I was obsessed with it in such an unhealthy way, because I thought, one, it will make me happier. I will be happier when I lose X amount of kilos, when I have a flat stomach, when I look this way, and then I will get the respect. Boys will like me then. And those boys who hurt me will look back and be like, wow, I shouldn't have fucked her over because now look at her. And let me tell you, none of that happened. Like, I wasn't happier. I was probably more depressed, more insecure, because I still looked to myself 11 kilos lighter and didn't think I was good enough.
Is that really, is that almost touching it, like the real journey needs to be more mental than physical for so many people? For
sure, because nothing external is ever going to fix something internal. The problem was never my body. The problem was that I felt like I wasn't good enough, and that stemmed from internal wounds from throughout childhood and, like, you know, with my dad and like things like that. Like that's all stemmed from there. So nothing external would ever fix those wounds. Yeah, they'll give me some form of validation or fill up that wound for a small amount of time. But then that dies off. It's like when people think that money is the answer, or a new car or whatever. Yeah, it'll make you feel good for a little bit, but it's never going to be the answer, because the wound is internal, not external.
100%. I completely agree with that. And it's something that we've spoken about a lot on the podcast here, is like the external factors and the things that we think are going to make us happy often aren't.
Yeah.
And like for me, I know personally for me, like I'm definitely not in the best shape I've been in at the moment. I've been enjoying life. I've been enjoying life, Rubes. I've been...
With all those mum's dinners, you're looking great.
Mum last night, lamb roast, sticky date. Didn't have the ice cream though, because I ate half a block of caramel. It's balance. It's balance. But I feel good. And
it's the most important thing.
It's an internal journey, right? Yeah. Like, and that's the thing. We live in a world where someone I'm a huge fan of is Billie Eilish. Massive Billie Eilish fan, because she's extremely talented. Yeah. And I think just like extremely artistic. I was telling you before, like I'm really interested in artists and like what their mindset is, how they come about the creation of their music or their work or whatever they do.
I would hate to know the standards and expectations that are put on them in such a...
She does a great job of it. Like for so long she hid her body, and I think there's a few things that I'll preface here. So I think personal love and self-love and that development internally is so important. Yeah. But then you've got an amazing balance where you have all of that now and you work on all that consistently. And I can imagine it's a full-on journey all the time. Like
there's never an end. I think people think there's an end point. There's not.
There's no final chapter. This is a fucking big book.
Trauma keeps coming up.
But I think you have a great balance where you still live an active lifestyle, where you're still promoting things that are good for your health.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, and I think that's the balance, where I think some people go the other way, where it's like, and I think that's the tricky part, where we're in a world where hopefully this will change and it's more self-love and positive body image. But I think there's some people who take it a little bit too far, and they forget that like your body needs to be healthy. Like it needs to have a functioning heart and functioning lungs.
But I think the thing is what people don't understand is that, and this is like my whole, I guess, not issue with body positivity, but the minute that someone is like slightly overweight or considered fat by society, they are promoting obesity. They are promoting, all of this stuff. But the thing is that they are not. So when I studied my mental health degree as a registered nurse, and I did mental health, one thing I really looked into was diet and how the media and promoting thinness and this ideal actually leads to so many episodes of binge eating and all of this stuff, which creates so many people to be gaining weight in excessive amounts. And so I think that, you know, when it comes to anyone's health, it can't be determined by what they look like. You know, you can see someone who maybe looks physically unfit because they are larger in size, but then you could see someone who is, you know, you could take, say, like one of, you know, I know a few fitness influencers who, you know, they look amazing, but they snort rack every weekend and they inject steroids, right? They have heart problems, all this, but they look healthy. That's why I think that the whole body positivity thing, it comes down to, one, no one has the right to make a judgment on someone else's health based off the way they look, because you never know. I
love the way you said that there, because I often think that you see people promoting health and you think you do not live the lifestyle that you're promoting. Yeah. Just because you look good doesn't mean you're healthy. And it's the same thing, right? Like if someone smokes a pack a day, and they look in incredible shape, like they're probably not fucking internally healthy. But I look at a guy like Action Bronson, the hip hop artist, and I don't know who that is. He says he's a hip hop artist and he's a chef.
Right. Okay.
He's been on a bit of a journey. Like he was like quite obese.
Right. Yeah.
From years of just abusing his body, and has been on a journey to reinvigorate his health, and so he started exercising, and like he's lost a little bit of weight, but he's still a bigger guy. But he's incredibly healthy because he trains every day. Like he's got really good healthy habits for his body that he loves, and and it's like a real love with training, where he's like, I never thought I'd fall in love with exercise the way I do, and I don't think everyone needs to exercise every day. Like there's a balance.
But I think what people also forget is that health isn't just exercising and eating well. It's what you consume visually. It's who you surround yourself with. It's your mental health, your social health, your spiritual. It isn't just training and going and eating well, because I can train 6 days a week. I can eat quote unquote healthy, but if my mental health isn't there, if I'm not surrounded by the good people who improve my social well-being and my social health, I cannot be considered healthy. So health is a social dimension of many things.
Do you think they all sort of interconnect in a way?
100%. But so like you can, like, for example, like someone can train, 6 days a week, let's say, and eat really healthy. And you might be like, wow, they are healthy, right? Like they do all the right things. But what if they're training because they're so afraid of losing, like they're so afraid of gaining weight. Yeah. And every single meal that they eat, they have so much like control over it, and they get guilt. Like, is that then health?
Not at all. And it's funny because I run with a group every week, the Active Boys Run Club. Oof, and like I love running, right? I love running now.
If you see me running, I'm being fucking chased. I don't run.
If you see Ruse running, fucking call for help.
Call for help. Or there's a bird somewhere. I will piss balls.
So I run with this crew. They're called the Active Boys Run Club, and it's two guys that started it, and a bunch of mates started coming. Now it's a bunch of like girls, and like it's just a really amazing dynamic. And I often say a big part of the group is just the foundational 5K Sunday run. Yeah. At 6 a.m. And the thing I love is I think what does more for people is not the run, but afterwards everyone stands around, has an ice long black, and a conversation.
It's a social thing, isn't it?
And it's a social thing, but what I've seen that do for some of the people's mental health in that group, and the positivity of having like good, positive, healthy relationships that are built off like a really strong foundation and this community vibe is like maybe the biggest thing for health in that whole group. It's not the running, it's that feeling of like belonging.
Well, I read this article once, and I will not know who it was by, but it was talking about...
Please provide references.
Please provide references. But it was basically talking about hierarchy of needs when it comes to health. And it was actually saying that they found the most important one was social well-being. Because when you don't feel like you are connected, or you have a community and you do not feel wanted or needed or valued, your whole health gets really affected. If you feel so alone and like that you don't have anyone to turn to, you don't have anyone to feel support or loved, like, if you look back into caveman times, it was all about community, right? You had a sense of belonging. Yeah. And people need that, and people forget that. And I think social media has its benefits about being connected and, you know,
Yeah.
we connected via social media.
Yeah.
But then there's also the thing where people are so connected, yet they are so alone.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Look at what the computer's doing right there. That's a
Oh,
little bit crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, what is that?
Jesus, that's new.
You know those like pads that have like the metal bits and then you put your hand on it and it like spikes?
Not really. That might just be
The
something.
cubes and they have like all the little metal pieces. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, Liam knows.
You need
Duffman
to-
knows.
Yeah. That's what it looks like.
Quite interesting. Sorry,
Yeah.
I got distracted there.
Yeah, you
But
really did.
I love what you're talking about, and I echo all of that. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It really is social belonging, and that leads to well-being, and I think then all the dots seem to connect.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about relationships. We spoke about it a little bit at the start.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're giggling. There's obviously so much to cover with relationships.
Yeah.
We sort of both spoke off camera about being
Romantic relationships or?
any form of
Okay.
relationship. Any
Right.
form of relationship. What do you think makes a healthy relationship? We spoke before about, firstly I'll say, when it comes to romantic relationships, disclaimer, I am no expert.
Neither am I.
In fact, Liam is...
Yeah, Liam. you
Liam's
put
had the
camera
longest
down,
standing
let's-
relationship in this room, 4 years with his lovely partner. And maybe we'll have to have Liam on here one day as the love guru.
Cancel this show right now. Put Liam on. Take me out.
But what do you think makes a healthy relationship, both romantically and with friends?
I think all of them come off a basis of trust, like connectedness, having similar things involved. The ability to set boundaries and be able to like listen and respect one another when it comes to that. And someone who makes you feel like seen and like heard.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important one. Look, my answer to this in the simplest way is that the world can be painful enough, and a
Yeah.
relationship, whether it is romantic or a friendship, should make your life better and easier and make you want to be a better person. And if it is adding more pain and stress, it is not good for you.
Yeah, I agree with
Like,
that.
It's meant to make your life better. You're meant to ebb and flow with one another. It is not meant to bring more pain and stress. So I think, you know, Liam, this is no hate to you, but like, I don't think time can say whether a relationship is good enough or not. I've seen people who have
Yeah.
been in relationships for 6+ years and their relationship is quote unquote 50% good and 50% bad. Like
Yeah.
when the good's good, it's really great, but when the bad's bad, it's really awful. You know, but
Well, there's plenty of people that are in long-term abusive relationships,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
And that
Or people
abuse-
who are just so scared to be alone, they don't want to leave.
Yeah. That's something that really takes a lot of work for a lot of people, hey. It's one thing that I'll say I'm most proud of myself for is this ability to, like... Some people would call it commitment issues, I wouldn't. I think it's
I'm about to
foresight.
judge you.
Yeah. I think it's foresight, right?
Yeah.
Where usually after like 8 to 12 weeks with someone,
Yeah,
I can tell whether that's got long-term legs.
for sure.
And what I mean by that is like, fuck, why is my phone buzzing?
Zachary needs to not.
Fucking Zachary bit off. Jesus Christ, mate.
Stella, control your man.
I just think like after that period of time, you can tell whether a relationship has the legs to last long term, right?
Yeah,
whether
for
it's
sure.
got, you know, there's healthy things there, whether you and the person connect properly, whether you've got... Because so many people jump into a relationship, and I feel like growing up, I was never like... Yeah, well, see, for me, I was like... I think because I had... Maybe because my journey has been so different with my health and like
Yeah.
I've had to do a lot of internal work throughout my younger years.
Yeah, sure.
Where I've got this really amazing ability to like self-reflect and
Yeah.
great self-awareness. That sounds very righteous of me, but I feel I have great self-awareness where I know whether I'm seeking someone else for a situation that I need to sort out myself.
Yeah.
And so I can go, okay, this isn't the right thing, or I'm not the right person for them.
Mm.
Even if I like them, like
Yeah.
I'm not the right person for them.
Yeah.
But I think I'm coming to a stage in my life where I'm 25 now.
Yeah.
Life is moving forward. Where I think it would be nice to meet someone good.
Yeah.
Like where you've got that, like that little bit of stability. And I'm not, like we spoke about it before, it's a long weekend. And I'd consider a big night out at mum's house for a roast. You know what I mean? So I'm like...
Sounds like an ideal
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm not the type of person who's like going out and like enjoying single life. You know what I mean? That's not me. So I'm like, I think a relationship would be nice where it's more so the company. Like, it's good company, finding someone that you really enjoy spending time with.
Yeah.
If all those things are healthy and the relationship is healthy and you've got a great connection, then I'm like, I'm probably ready for that.
Yeah, for sure.
But the
I
hard
think
thing
about
is
having a
finding-
baby all the time. So yes, I'm like,
I'm not that far down the line. I'm not that far down the line where I'm like...
I think it's being a full-time nanny. I'm like, I want a baby.
How old are you?
21.
21.
Yeah.
How long have you been a nanny for?
Angus was 8 weeks when I started and he just turned 3.
Does that change the way that you see relationships?
110%.
I'm turning my phone off, by the way. I'm
That
not
is
being
okay.
rude because I just feel like I'm getting text messages
just texting other
galore.
people.
Talk to me. Yeah. I'm just on Insta. just
yeah,
now.
no, completely changes the way a relationship works. So when I did my, I think the most part that changed it for me was when I did a placement for uni in a child and adolescent mental health facility. And I was talking to one of the psychologists and she said, everything a child learns, they learn between the ages of newborn to 7 years of age.
Yeah.
The way they know how to love and communicate, to deal with anger, to deal with loneliness, and all of those sort of things. And I look at my childhood and my parents are perfect. But every parent will pass on some form of quote-unquote trauma. And so one thing I was very conscious of when I was like, I'm a nanny, being like, I want these children to know what love feels like and what feeling seen and heard feels like. Like, if they're like, oh, like they'll come home with this piece of paper that has like scribbles all over it and they'll be like, I drew you this picture of you in a castle, and I'm like, the fuck, that does not look like that. But I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm so excited for them because that's what they need. Like, or when they're so angry and I'm like tired and I'm trying to, like, I've done a 16-hour day with them and I'm just like, oh my God, stop. Like, stop. But like, it's giving them like love and nurturing and knowing that they're still so little. They don't know how to like communicate things yet and process stuff. And I think for me, I was like, you know, you were saying you don't rush into relationships. Whereas for me, I would like to say my past self, I did. I just wanted to feel loved and validated and good enough that I was worthy of being in a relationship. In every relationship I've been in, I've always been cheated on. So I was always like, I'm not good enough to just be loved. Like, there's obviously something that's lacking. And so I would always rush into relationships and I always thought, oh my gosh, I just want to like have a baby and get married and do all of this because I feel like I'm running out of time. Like that social expectation that I'm running out of time. But being a nanny, I'm like, you don't want to have a baby and just rush that. Like, children are so like these perfect little...
They're delicate, aren't they?
They are just the most authentic like little creatures.
I think that's a beautiful characteristic though that you have, where you speak about like being the nanny. Like, you're not the parent, but you're the nanny.
Yeah.
And still wanting to have that positive effect. Like,
I treat them like my children.
Yeah, and you want to, right? And I think that's a great trait to have, whoever you are. Like, I think whether you're a sibling or like if you're an older sibling, or if you're an older cousin, or if you've got people in your life who are younger than you, I think like those positive traits that you have definitely pass on to those people. And I think to have such positive energy around those kids, it's, for me, I look at it, and the reason I say I'm not ready right yet is because anyone who listens to this show knows that I was born with cystic fibrosis, which is a crazy responsibility for any parent, right? And I just got the two biggest gems in the world. And like, I love my parents to death. And I look at what they done for me to be sitting here right now as healthy as I am and like running marathons and loving life and making the most of every opportunity. And I just don't think I've got that in me yet. And
it's a big responsibility, but it's also good that you were like, I'm not ready. Because so many people, especially I've seen in like relationships, they fall pregnant and they believe that's going to fix a relationship.
Yeah,
like,
no.
please don't have,
Please
like,
don't
please don't. Like, we come out as the most perfect, authentic, divine creatures, and we are then molded and constructed by everything we know. Kids do not listen to what you say, they watch what you do. And that's why it's not even the words that you choose when, like, you're speaking to a child, it's the way you act. And everything is, I believe this is, everything is energy. So, like, I could not even speak, but they will know exactly if I'm like tense or if I'm happy or if I'm sad, like, and they are so good at picking that up. And like, yeah, I'm like...
You know what my prediction is?
Yeah.
My prediction is, this is for me, not for you. I'm not
Okay, I was like, what are you about to predict?
My prediction is one of two things. The first one is, it's kind of the story you want to hear, right? It's, I find the love of my life. We sail off into the sunset with some beautiful children on our boat in the Amalfi Coast.
Oh.
Just a wardrobe full of linen. Couple of mopeds to double the kids on. You know, like, good life.
Good life.
The second one is, I just never found her. And this all went amazing. I'm very career driven. And I'm at the point where I go, I really like a little one, so I adopt a child.
Yeah, I really want to adopt.
And it's just me and him.
That would be sweet.
Yeah, or me and her.
Me and
I feel like I could look after a little girl.
I don't care what gender my baby is. I just want it to be healthy. It's
Yeah,
literally all I care
yeah.
about.
Yeah, me neither.
I also have a note list on my phone of like potentially 56 names for all my kids.
56?
Yeah, because I just don't know.
What's at the top? Are you allowed to
No, I
reveal?
cannot disclose because if anyone snitches my name,
Yeah.
I'm already in like a bit of a tiff with my sister. She's about to have a little girl. And her and I share the same baby name that we both like. And if she calls the baby this name, I'll kill it. Not kill it, but I'll kill her.
Yeah.
I'll be very mad.
Yeah.
Be very mad.
I can understand. I can understand. We knew someone who called their baby the same name my sister called her dog. My sister was mad. She was like, "Fuck, that's my dog's name."
How dare you?
Yeah, get away from it. Get away from it. Talk to me about when you're looking for a relationship. Like, you know what? Maybe Mr. Right is on the other side of this YouTube or the other side of this podcast.
Maybe they're watching right now.
Maybe they're watching. Maybe they're listening.
Being like, why does she fidget with her hands so much?
Well, what's Ruby looking for in a relationship?
God damn it. Wow, let me just think of the internal
Like, what gives you the
list.
butterflies? What makes you feel like you found the right person?
Someone who I feel like I don't have to, like, go back to my old ways of feeling like I have to be this, like, perfect, like, wifey material on first date. Like, I can't just be myself and be, like, that I'm not this, like, perfect person. I feel like for so long, every time I would meet someone, not even pretended, but I would just, like, show only the best version of myself.
Shell up a little bit.
Yeah, like, really put my walls up. Like, I wanted love so bad, but I also, like, really blocked it because I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm not good enough again. I don't want to feel like I'm not, like, worthy of love. So I would, like, be this perfect person. I would do wifey shit for fuckboys. Easiest, simplest way of popping, like, that into a sentence. So I think, like, if it came down to it, like, just someone who made me feel like I can just be myself and not judge me for, one, my past, and two, like, the fact that I am still very much healing and that I know that there's so many parts of me that I know that I still have to work through. For me, like, the thing that gives me butterflies is seeing someone really driven, like, in something they love. I think that, like, passion and, like, creativity and curiosity and, like, just having a big heart is something that makes me, like, really attracted to someone.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like looks are great, and obviously you have to have a form of attraction to someone.
Yeah.
But for me, it's, like, heart and soul, like, how they treat other people, how they make other people feel, like, that is everything to me. I don't care how much money you make, I don't care what car you drive, where you live, if you make other people feel seen and heard and loved, and when you walk into a room, it's, like,
that's
bright
huge.
and, like, that's all I care about. Because I think that, like, people can get carried away by I don't even want to say the social media aspect of it, but, like, what would my relationship with this person look like on social media? How would, like, we look together? Blah, blah, blah. I want to know how I'll feel. Like,
you know what? It's funny because it's funny you say that. I was thinking about this last night.
after your big roast dinner.
After I'm just sitting there, belly full
Your
of lamb.
big belly.
Belly full of lamb. Bit of like caramel sauce still on my face from my sticky date.
Little snack.
Just looking at my dad and his partner. My mum. That's what we've got, a really dysfunctional family where my parents
like
are
me
divorced.
too.
And like we're all sitting around with their partners last night having dinner at my mum's house. It's fucking amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
That's like, for me, that's a really good example of like showing like through their actions
Yeah.
really healthy relationships, which I love. But I was sitting there and I was thinking, sis and Cal, just being all romantic. Dad and Kaz, just look at them. Two little gems, Mum and Shawnee. They look so happy. and I was just eating my caramel sauce and sticky date. But I was thinking, I'm like, for someone who shares a lot of their life on social, because I'm trying to build this and I'm quite private when it comes to relationships. Like, how the fuck are people still texting?
I think it's because it's your laptop. Like,
okay.
It's not your phone.
And I'm quite private when it comes to relationships, where I really like to keep it like just my business.
Yeah, like keep it private till it's permanent.
Yeah, and I think because it's like when there's so many, I learned the hard way that through high school, like if you liked a girl, everyone else's opinions mattered more than your own.
Yeah.
And it's like someone would say, oh, what do you like her for? Like, nah, she's not the right person for you. Like, don't do that. Like, no, you guys will clash on this. And then you get in your own head about it. Where I really like, for me, it's like when you create that relationship and that bond with someone and you work on that just between you and them, like, that's
But it's a relationship, which is two people.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Yeah.
There's this quote, I saw it once, and have you ever seen a quote and it's just stuck with you?
Yeah, of course.
For like ever.
There's the same 5 quotes that I've been quoting on this podcast for like 89 episodes now.
Well, it's this quote, and it's like, you can't build a kingdom with someone who still wants attention from the village. And it's like stuck with me so much that like you can't build a bond with someone that is strong when everyone else still has an input or say, or you're still looking in the other direction for something. And so like I was someone who just wanted to plaster it all on social media. I wanted someone to like...
Well, it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. But that was all for me trauma. Like that was really, that was a massive like trauma response that I was scared to lose someone. So I thought if I profess my love to you publicly, you'll see that I'm really into you. So you'll like feel that you're appreciated. And I think that I did it because I wanted to feel that way. Like I wanted them to do the same for me. But then I realized that the minute your relationship isn't just between you and them, every single person has an input. And I would be someone who would overly share. Like if my partner and I had a fight, I'd go to all my friends and be like, he did this, he said that, what if I quit? I hate him, how dare he? All my friends would give their 2 cents. The fight would be over in 10 minutes.
And then it corrupts.
But then they all still hated him. Then they all had an opinion. Then they would all be like, why do you... Like, they only heard the bad about him.
And nobody truly knows a relationship unless they're in it.
And also, I'm sorry, but everyone will over-exaggerate a fight while in a fight. So if you... Say you and I are fighting, and I then go and tell someone, you naturally always over-exaggerate the worst things you've done. So, like, you know... And also, I think when it comes to, like, toxic relationships and things like that, you don't need advice from anyone else. You already know what, like, the answer is or, like, what to do. But you just want to feel validated. You want to feel like your decision's, like, the right thing to do.
It's funny you say that. What popped into my head then when you raised your fist, right, was 2 things. A little bit of fear, like, oh, my God. The second thing was, talk about over-exaggerating. Yeah, I can see. Over-exaggerating a fight. And it made me think, I was in, like, a little schoolyard fight when I was, like, in year 10.
Bad boy.
And I'm actually, like, we're mates with a dude. Like, we played in the school footy team together and everything. But he threw, like, this little berry at me. And, like, I didn't like the way that he'd done it.
Like a fruit berry?
Yeah, like off a little tree.
Oh, right.
Right? And I thought it was quite aggressive. And I was like... So we sort of had a bit of a push and shove. And, like, he grabbed me and I flogged him one. And, like, the fight was kind of over before it started. But then... I remember I got suspended from school. I ended up getting my licence. So shout out to the school. They gave me a free day to go get my licence.
Mm-hmm.
But I said to my dad, he come to pick me up because I got suspended. And he goes, what happened? And I'm like, mate, he's pegged this berry at me.
He's fully flogged me with this
I was
fruit.
like, literally could have taken my eye out. And I'm like, so it was on. And then Dad goes, where are they? Like, what berry? And I go, that tree there. And he goes... Mate, wouldn't even feel that if it hit you.
It's
and
2 mils by 2 mils.
And I was like, maybe I've slightly exaggerated this in the heat of the moment. But it's so true, right? We do that with everything. Like, it's easy to exaggerate when you're emotional.
Yeah, for sure.
But I will touch on one thing you said before, and this is maybe we won't call it advice. We'd say it's my take. Maybe something that you may consider if you're in the audience is... You spoke about the way that someone makes you feel. For God's sake, I swear to God.
You need to turn your notifications off on your Mac. Come on. This is your... How many episodes? And we haven't learnt this one yet.
I haven't learned this yet. Is
that just turned off the sound to the MacBook?
No.
Okay.
No, just the notifications.
Amazing.
And we speak about like the way someone makes you feel. And I'll say that's the one thing I'd say for any relationship is search for. Someone who like at your worst, and be okay with exposing yourself at your worst, because how they treat you like is the most important thing in that time. Because we're not always at our best, right?
No.
We're not always,
you won't ever have a life that's always
It's not
high.
always a highlight. Sometimes shit happens. Sometimes you will find yourself, whether that be physically, mentally, spiritually, in the most challenging part of your life. And the people who stick by you in that time are the people that you want with you forever.
Yeah.
And that's something that always stuck with me, because there's been times where people I've been talking to or forming relationships with didn't.
Yeah.
And the time that someone did, it's the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah. Or when you are upset, someone who doesn't just like try and brush under the rug and be like, just, it's fine, like get over it, like it'll be okay. Or like, why are you being a sook? Like it doesn't even matter. Like someone who lets you feel the way you need to feel and holds space for you, doesn't try and mold the way you feel and make you feel a certain way, but just like gives you the space to be like, all right, I know that they're there for me and that they support me no matter what. And that, like just holds space for you, like makes you feel like seen and heard.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like knowing like a really good sign for me in like a relationship, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, is someone who like really listens and doesn't just like, in terms of what's the word, like listens to understand rather than listens to respond.
I like
and
that.
Who tries to like actually understand what you're saying and doesn't like, especially in like not even fights, but just communication is a massive thing for me. I am like a big communicator. Like if I'm having an argument with someone, I don't want to like let the dust settle and like give it a couple of days and then ignore that it's happened. I want to talk. Like
you want to know, right?
I am a communicator. Because we all act out of like a trauma response or a past upset, or you know, if something's happened to us before and then it's happening again, it brings on a lot of emotion, whereas like communication can really fix things. So when people listen to you and they're listening to understand, they learn a lot about you, whereas if they're just listening to respond and to like argue your point, you know, someone who makes you feel like whether you're in an argument or not, they're still on your team. Like it's
I like that.
You and them versus the problem, not you versus them.
Talk to me. Have you ever been in love in a really positive way?
No. It's always been based off like a trauma bond.
Okay.
So
That's
like
sad.
it is, but then I'm like, I'm still so young.
Yeah, you're still so young.
And I'm learning this now about myself. Like I'm learning like my trauma responses and why I attract the same type of men all the time. And I know I attract that because of my internal wounds, because you attract the polarity of what you are.
Yeah.
So but I know that now. So yeah, I might not have had, like, I've definitely loved parts of people who I've met and I felt euphoric, like absolutely on top of the world with them, but it wasn't a healthy relationship. But it means that like, if I can feel that euphoric with someone who's not right for me, imagine how I'm going to feel when that person is right for me. Like, you know, it's going to be amazing. And I'm happy to now wait for that. Whereas before I wasn't. Like, I just wanted to be in a relationship. I don't care whether they treated me like shit. I just wanted to be in a relationship and wanted to feel love. Whereas now I'm like, I'm actually happy to just be content with who I am and know that the right person and I will find me. Like, what's meant for me won't pass me. And I'm, like, content with that now.
There's a lot of theories when it comes to love, right? And I don't know what I believe, I don't know what I don't. But I've heard a few things. One I've heard is that you have 3 true loves in your life. Yeah. The first one is, I think it's like, it's what makes you feel, it's what helps you understand what love feels like.
Yeah.
The second one is like, what eventually guides you to then find the right person or something like that. Third one is a person that you end up spending the rest of your life with. Do you think that's true?
I don't know.
Or do you think that's discouraging?
No, I don't know, because I don't know if you're meant to find one person and stay with one person forever. I don't know if I believe that.
Oh wow, this is a bombshell.
I know.
This is a clip.
Sorry, I don't know if I've ever even said this before.
That's alright. Share.
I don't.
Please share.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that you know, there's so many beautiful people who offer so many different things. Like, you know, maybe you'll be with someone and you'll love that person for a couple of years and you adventure and do all of this stuff together, but then maybe you meet, you know, maybe that falls and drifts apart and you then meet someone who you have kids with who raises your kids, you know. Like, I look at my dad. My dad has been married twice and is now on his third partner. And at first I was like, what the hell? Like, get your shit together. Like, he was with someone married and she couldn't have kids and there was like bits and bobs to it all and whatever. Yeah. And then they weren't together. Then he met my mum and within a couple of months they had my brother. And then they were together for 25 years raising kids.
Yeah, wow.
But they weren't in love. And they didn't showcase love. And I guess that was quite hard for me because obviously I learned what love is from them.
Yeah.
But, you know, the most love I've ever been taught by my parents is actually when they separated because they realised they weren't making each other's lives better. They weren't fulfilling each other's needs. They didn't have things in common. They were meant to be together to raise us. Because we're all stunning, beautiful children. But
you are,
they're not meant to, they're not meant to be together. They're still best friends, but now they both have new partners and my dad has met someone who likes gardening and camping and furniture design and DIY things, whereas my mum didn't like that stuff and that's okay. So I'm a bit torn because I'm like, it would be so lovely to be with one person and create this beautiful magical lifestyle and do all of the things together, but is it realistic when we're such social creatures? You know, I don't know. And with these days with social media, the thing is temptation is so high that I don't know.
It's an interesting world we live in, isn't it? It's new territory.
Yeah.
We haven't been here before.
Yeah.
I've said it on a recent podcast. I think it was on 2 podcasts back or 3 podcasts back that I think I was on like a dating app for like 15 seconds and I was like, I hate this.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's so bad because one of the boys was like, go on it. You're always too nice. Like, you just need to find someone. I'm like, oh, yeah. Went on it for like 15 seconds and I was like, I hate this because it's that scroll mentality, right? It's like no one will ever be good enough.
I hate judging people off the way they look.
Yeah. Like, it's always a better option, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's always like, oh, maybe the grass is greener on 10 slides later or 20 slides later. And it's never the case. I just think it leads to... I think there's definitely some people who have formed incredible relationships through dating apps. And I think, bloody credit to you. If you can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
But for me personally, it's more so like meeting someone face to face, having a really good connection.
Yeah.
It kind of like... I always find like the people that I really start to like, it's like friendships first.
Yeah.
And it starts with like a healthy relationship and... like, you know what like they like, you've got commonalities and interests and like that, it's that fun relationship first and then
it ebbs and flows, which is what it's meant to do.
But then I found the right person there. Have I? So I don't know. But
it will come. Like, and I think, you know how you were saying before about your age, I don't think that has anything to do with it. Like, I think there's the expectation that by the time you're 25, you need to be with someone, getting married, thinking about your first property together, having the kids, your life set up, but you're fucking 25. We live to how old? Like...
Me, probably 100.
Exactly. So you have a long way to go. Yeah. You don't need to do anything.
Yeah, there's probably a couple of romances left in me, really, isn't there?
Exactly. And enjoy that. Like, I think that, you know, like, dating is a really good thing. Like, I don't love dating apps because I think, how can you give your pure energy to 20 people you've matched with? Like, that sounds like a daycare to me more
Holy
than
fuck,
like a
did you hear how
relationship.
loud that bird was?
Cockatoo. See, I hate birds.
Wow.
I really hate birds.
Wow. Whenever we leave the window open in the studio...
As long as one does not come in here, because I will pee my pants straight up.
Yeah, there's just always so much noise. In the morning, it's birds. In the afternoon, it's like fucking every Vin Diesel fanatic in their fucking car driving up the main street. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so we've spoken before. I've had Jordan Simi on the show. Jordan does a lot of dating stuff and relationship stuff. And he speaks from a bit of a guy's perspective. Yeah. Shout out to Simi. What's maybe some advice for the girls, you know? For the girls that are out there trying to find a man's, trying to find the love of their life. If they're not, let's say they're not on a dating app, right? Yeah. They're meeting them face to face. They're going on a date. Yeah. Sitting down, dressed up, feeling snazzy.
Snashy.
Sitting down for a brekkie. So what are some of the questions you'd be asking?
I'd want to know who they are. Like, who are you? Not what do you have. I want to know who you are, not your job title. Like, obviously, yes, your job's a part of what you do in your daily life, but I want to know, like, who you are. Like, for me, like, I like really getting to know someone, because I think that, you know, when you can have, like, you know how we were on our walk this morning and we were just talking about, like, life. You were talking about your family and, like, your relationship with your sister and all of this. Like, you know, when, like, it's so surface level?
Yeah.
And it's just, like...
It's just like...
That's a red flag for me.
It's
I'm
like,
nah.
who are you? And they go, I'm an accountant. And you're like, oh, and what do you do? I work Monday to Friday.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, so what did you do on the weekend? And they're like, got blind fucking pierced. Now I feel like a bit dusty. I'm like...
Yeah. We're Sabre Crew over here.
I know.
Too good. Feeling fresh.
Feeling great.
Well, not really, though. I've had 2 coffees and it's fucking 7:30.
I would be, like, literally shaking.
Ribs, I had 4 on the weekend.
That's disgusting.
I'm
judging.
I'm a different type of animal. I'm built different. Yeah, so you just didn't get to know the person truly.
Yeah, and trust energy. Like, if you feel like... Obviously, everyone would have a bit of that, like, anxious feeling when you first meet someone. Like, that is normal. But trust how you feel. Like, do you feel comfortable with that person? Do you feel like the energy's good, that, like, you're having, like, playful fun? Or do you actually feel so on edge? Do you feel closed? Like, are they, like... I always think about how I feel. And also before I ever go on a date or, like, meet someone or even think about getting in the scene of, like, dating, I always ask myself... would I want to date myself right now? Like, am I in the place?
That's a good question,
to date to date, if someone was to be with me, like, am I what I would want to meet? Because, like, I look back to before when I was dating and I'm like, fuck me, I would not want to meet me. Like, I was codependent, I was needy, I was, like, there was so much to me, and I can fully admit that. And, like, obviously there's still parts of that still play up, and that just comes with healing and understanding that. But I think for a long part, I dated to fill a void, not because I wanted to date. I didn't actually like a lot of the people I met. I could see red flags from the get-go, but I was like, I just want to feel, like, loved, and because I thought that a relationship would fix my problems.
Do you think you can go on that journey of self-love and self-development whilst discovering the beginnings of a relationship with someone?
It depends who you're dating. I think if they can hold space for you and they can understand that it's not going to be some, like, smooth, perfect journey, because I think when it comes to healing, like, a relationship is such an incredible way to see what you have to heal, because pain plus reflection equals growth. So when you're in a relationship with someone, they are the ideal mirror for things you need to heal.
Yeah.
Like, my ex was really like, if you leave, it's not going to affect me. Like, I am really secure in who I am. Like, whereas that really triggered me because I was so codependent. Yeah. He was the perfect mirror for what I needed to heal, because I was so anxiously attached to him, and he was avoidantly attached. So he was a mirror. So I think that if you are in a healthy relationship with someone who can understand that you are an entirety on your own, and that everyone comes with baggage, and that is normal, and I think if they hold space for you and you guys can have the ability to communicate and understand one another, it's a whole different ball game, and it can be a beautiful, and it can really, like, fast track healing, because you can help one another.
I like that.
But I think if you're in a toxic relationship and you know, your partner brushes the way you feel under a rug, or dismisses you, or adds to your trauma, like, if it's a trauma bond, if that's what you know, yeet out of there really quickly. Yeah. Like, but yeah, I think if it's a healthy relationship, then yeah, I think it's a great place to heal.
Okay, first dates. Do you take them somewhere you know, or do you go somewhere different? Do you run the risk of exposing that date to the world? You know what I mean? Like,
as in other people who see you?
Yeah, no, and it's not more so for being seen, it's people then chiming in and asking questions. You know how people are nosy? I think we've all been on a date. Like, I've definitely been on a date at Diggy's in Wollongong before, where I'm sat there. So you know where we walked this morning, the cafe? Oh, yeah. The one where you sit in next door? I've definitely been on a date there before, sat right on the fence, and 1 million people walk past and ask questions.
Right, love that.
And you're like, I don't know if this is the best place for that person to feel comfortable being themselves.
Yeah. I feel like for me personally, like, I love, and this is me I love stepping into my feminine and letting a guy take control of the date. Like him being like, let's go on an adventure or let's drive to this new place. Because when there are less outside engagement, you can definitely be more intimate with that person. Like, not physical intimacy, but like being able to actually
100%.
understand them and be like, oh, okay, like, you know, get to know one another. Whereas when there's all this distraction going on, you're just kind of like sitting next to them.
It's not a good environment.
It's doesn't actually allow you to fully connect. Like, if there was 15 more people in this room, you know, it would be so much more harder to gain, you know, that intimate connection with you and be able to talk and open up. And I think, so yeah, like when it comes to a date, like, I don't think it really matters, but I guess for me personally, I definitely like when it's like, and even when it is trying something like new, like if you go to, like, I'm a coffee snob, and I remember this date, and it was actually a really good date, but he was like, oh, let's just go to this random cafe, like I've never tried it, like I've heard pretty good reviews. And we went, and the coffee was so bad, but it was like such a laugh between us that we were like, fuck this, let's leave. We left halfway through our coffee, like left it basically full and like went somewhere else, but it was like funny and it was like good. So I don't know, like,
perfect first date for, because the reason I say this,
I love a breakfast date.
I'm sat here. Yeah, breakfast date is good. I was sat here yesterday having breakfast, let's call it on a mate date, with my good friend Jared Peskin.
Love that.
And we're just sitting here having a conversation. I'm going to say I'm a little bit disappointed with him. I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed, because we were deep in conversation, as we do. Good catch up. And we're chatting, you know, we're just chatting back and forth. And I, for the first time in 6 months, had something different for breakfast.
Ooh.
As you all know, I usually get around some perfectly poached eggs on some beautifully thick peanut butter sourdough. And don't look at me like that, because you can try a little bit of my breakfast after here today and you'll love it. And I decided to go with the black garlic scrambled eggs. And let me just say, they were good. Mm-hmm. They were very good. However, what I always do is I put a little bit of salt and pepper on the top. You know how it is, we're not playing over here. And we just add a little bit of seasoning. Right? Just a little dash, just a dash. And we got up and we walked out and, you know, we paid and, you know, just bumped into some people we know. Had an amazing conversation with them. Then I got in the car, smiled at myself in the mirror, and I had the biggest fucking chunk of black pepper in between my teeth. And I thought... And
he didn't tell you.
And he didn't tell me. So
that is worthy of ending the friendship.
I'm slightly disappointed, Jared. However, I will say... This is not
the time you tell me I was on your teeth.
No, it's not. It's like... and you've actually got spinach in your teeth grooves. That would have been really funny if I did, though, eh?
It's so funny.
But then I thought to myself, thank fuck that wasn't a date.
Yeah.
Because that would be embarrassing.
If you were on a date, though, and they didn't tell you, that is a good enough sign to, like, not see them again.
They want you to suffer.
What else?
They want to see you in pain. What would you eat on a first date?
Well, I don't care. I'm, like, a big eater. Like...
Yeah, we spoke about this. We enjoy our food.
About this. Yeah, I don't really care. Like, people say, like, XYZ is, like, off limits. Like, you shouldn't have, like, spaghetti or, like, no garlic. I'm here to eat. And I'm here to enjoy. If the person sitting opposite me is going to judge me for what I'm eating, you ain't for me. Because, like, I eat a lot. I like to eat. My favourite kind of date is food. So, like...
Okay.
Like...
So, let's say me and you are on a date right now. We're at Samara's lovely local Lebanese restaurant.
Yum.
The lamb kebabs come out. You dipping that in the garlic sauce?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Just going for it?
No judgment. No judgment.
Sending it? Okay. We're on a coffee date.
Okay.
You've just sit back your almond latte with a bit of honey. Just giving you guys a tip on what Ruby likes.
Yes.
And are you carrying some, like, nice, juicy, extra peppermints in the bag?
Yeah, always. Like, you want to be presentable. You don't want to be, like...
Yeah, so you're still not hitting them with the coffee break.
Yeah, you're not hitting them with that. But, like, if you're going to dine, like, there is nothing worse than, like, eating and then having regret being like, I should have gotten that or I should have eaten that. Like, that's bad. So I would always just eat whatever.
Eat whatever. Like, I love it. Confidence. You know. Confidence is key.
Confidence is key. The right people will like you for exactly who you are.
Actually, you know, it's funny. You say that, right? And I agree with that completely. One thing I want to say is I've been thinking a lot about that this weekend. I actually wrote some things in my notes. So I watched a movie on Friday night called The Green Book. And I don't know if you've seen The Green Book. Liam, have you seen The Green Book on Netflix? No? So, actually, it's only available until June 30 if anyone wants to watch it.
Where is it on?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So, it's about an African-American gentleman who is a professional musician. He plays the piano, like, I think classically. I'm not an expert on that style of genre, but he tours around the country, and it's set like a few years back, like a few decades ago. And he needs a driver. He's very well-to-do. He's very successful because of his music, but he's in a time where America is still quite racist, and they probably still are to a degree.
Yeah.
But they're still quite racist, and there is definitely a lot of steps behind where it is today. And in the beginning of this movie, it sort of sets a scene with this Italian fellow, a few spoilers here, who is eventually going to be this man's driver to drive him around the country on his tour.
Yeah.
And he says a few racist things and does a few things that show that he's not exactly the most understanding or well-cultured fella.
Yeah.
And then he ends up needing a job. He takes on the job of being this man's driver, and he's exposed to the cruelty of the human race in the way that people treat this guy, whilst a room of rich white people will sit there and love his music. They won't let him use the same bathroom that they do. They won't treat him with respect. To him, to them, he's an object, not a human being.
Yeah.
And it's fucking really sad. And I sat there and I watched this movie and I just thought...
I cry in movies like that.
Oh, like it had me emotional because I was like, how cruel is the human race?
Yeah.
And I was watching this, but I sat there and it sort of hit me and I thought, are they cruel or are they just sheep? Like, are they people who are just following the trend that has been set by the most influential people in the room? Are they just going along as they would, as so many people do in life, scared to be the social outcast or the outcast that speaks up for what they believe in, who they are, or to truly be and represent who they are within their heart?
Yeah.
And it made me think that, would a sheep in today's society have been just one of those sheep back then? Probably. Is it the same sheep, just different paddock? And so the reason I say this, and this sounds quite inspirational, but I wanted to preface it because I think it's super important, is be you. Like, the best part about being an individual, about being a human being, is you are different to everyone else. Like, believe what you believe in, be okay with the rest of the world knowing it, be okay and be accepting of the fact that you may be a social outcast, and that may be the cost of being yourself.
But I think in that same breath, like, how are people who are meant to find you if you don't act who you are meant to be?
100%.
Like, and I think as well, like, this is one thing that really played with me with my social media, was that when I first started gaining a little bit of a following, I wanted to just, like, do what every other, like, quote-unquote influencer or everyone who had a small following would do, like, and I realised that I actually didn't like doing any of that. I didn't like being that person. I didn't like overly editing and posing all my photos. Like, it made me not feel awkward, but I just knew that, like, I didn't want people to see my Instagram and then see me in real life and be like, you don't look anything like that. Like, that was kind of my biggest fear. And I remember when I started posting a lot more authentic and vulnerable things, I thought to myself, I would rather be liked for exactly who I am and be like, what you see is what you get. Take it or leave it. And if you don't like me, that's okay, because it's not my job to convince you that I am worthy of your time or for you to like me, because with how many people there are in this world, no, not everyone is going to like you, and you need to stop believing that everyone is going to. Like, we have different views on things, we have different thoughts, we have different causes we care about, and, you know, like, social and, like, all that sort of stuff, history, like, we are different people. Not everyone is going to like you, and the minute I stopped trying to convince people or be the same as everyone else in order to be liked, I actually, like, found a little bit of peace. And that's actually when my social media started growing and taking off, was because to be brutally honest, I don't give a fuck whether you like me or not, and it's not my job to convince you of it. Like, if you like me, and you will 100% back me. And the thing is when you like me, I know you like me for me.
For who you
because
are.
I'm not being fake. I'm not being something I'm not. I'm not trying to convince you and have this act that like I care about this thing or do this for a front. This is who I am. So if you like me, it's great because then I know it's for me. It's not for who I pretend to be.
Yeah. I always say that for me, if my dad, my mum and my sister love me and they know my nature's good and my intent's good, that'll do me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the rest of the world can think what they want to think. And I think it's a beautiful place to be. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, and I think of before when you were talking about that book, you were saying, you know, are they cruel or is it just, you know, like being a sheep? But that's why I think like the message of self-love for me was really important to preach because I don't like admitting this because I don't like admitting that I was mean to other people, but I was very like two-faced when I was younger. And it stemmed from jealousy straight up. Like I would bitch about people behind their backs purely out of jealousy. Like I was in those group chats where you would screenshot their stuff and send it in and be like, oh my God, look what they've done. Or like, look at her photo, look at how she looks in this. Like I was a part of that. I played in that. I was in the sheep herd.
I think we all do get caught up in that to a degree.
But I think that self-love really got me out of that because I realized that I didn't hate on those people and I didn't like I wasn't rude and I wasn't critical of them. I was actually jealous of them. And that all forms of hate or criticism comes from a place of like a reflection. Like, you know the saying like what Susie says of Sally says more of Susie than it does of Sally? That quote like perfectly sums it up. I think that, you know, anything that someone says is a projection of who they are, not who you are.
Self-love is free.
I know.
Set
Self-love
yourself
will
free.
literally fix all your problems.
Set yourself free. Look, we've come to that point in the podcast where it gets a little bit juicy. So this is a new segment for anyone watching or listening, and it's called Confessions. And we've all seen that movie where someone walks into the church, they walk into the Catholic Church, and they need to confess to their sins. And it may be a sin that you've never confessed to before. It may be a sin that you're not quite comfortable confessing to, but this is the platform that you can do it and feel free about it. We're setting you free here today, Rubes. We're setting you free. Now, I thought about how I was going to host this, right? As I'm saying this, there'll probably be quite some quite slow, dramatic music playing in the background for effect. And I thought about hosting this as if I was a priest, but they don't exactly have the best reputations. And so I thought, you know, I'll just be the captain. I'll be the captain of the ship. But we'll host it as if we're sitting in one of those little booths in the church.
Okay,
I don't know what they're called, the confessionals. The confessional booth. So here we are. Just sat looking straight down the barrel. And
I've got to turn off my smile.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to tell us?
Yes, Captain. I need to confess to my sins.
I told her to say that.
I told a very, very well-known rugby player that he was very good in bed. Yet I actually faked the orgasm because it was so appalling that I wanted to get out of there.
Wow.
I hope he doesn't know who he is.
Okay, so hold on. Let me just get in character for a second.
Oh, that's actually quite good to get off my chest. Thank you.
It's very freeing, isn't
it? Look at my hands.
You're shaking a little bit. You're freeing a little bit.
That was anxious.
Thank you for confessing to your sins there, Rubes. I just want to ask you a few questions further free you, further free you from maybe some of the guilt that you are feeling, but shouldn't be.
I do feel guilt.
You shouldn't be feeling because we're all human, right?
Yes.
Tell me, did he play rugby union or league? League. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And is he well known? Is he someone that I'm not going to ask you his name?
If I was to say him, you would 110% know him.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not gonna. No bombs out here. I'm not gonna. Was he a forward or a back?
Oh, I don't know. I don't watch football.
Athletic.
Yes.
Okay.
Like.
Quite muscular.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. You know,
I feel bad now that I've said that.
No, we're not gonna.
Really nice.
They're all athletic. They're all athletic.
Yeah.
And maybe man's just had an off day.
Yeah, maybe he did. Maybe he did. I just really
big game the day before.
People's feelings.
Big game the day before.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Just a little bit beaten up. You know, he's played 80.
Maybe, yeah.
He's played 80 minutes the day before, Rubes.
Is that how long the game is?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were 20-minute halves.
No, 40.
Oh, fuck.
There you go.
There you go. Maybe he was just tired.
There you go.
Who knows?
We'll leave that up to your imagination. Thank you for confessing to, I won't even call them your sins, just to something that you've been holding a little bit closer to your heart than you've kept it here today.
I don't have anything else to confess. I'm a pretty open book.
Pretty open book?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was really the only thing that I feel bad
Well, that
for
was
doing.
juicy. That's going to get clipped on IG for sure.
Was I allowed to say something sexual?
Yeah, 100% you were.
Okay. I think a lot of people fake their orgasms. Like, a lot of girls I know fake probably 90% of them, if I'm being honest.
Okay. 90%.
Probably, yeah.
Is that scientifically researched? Or is
Look,
that...
if I look at every single girl who I know and I
Yeah.
ask them, it would probably be 90% of the people they've slept with, they would have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Lads, we've got some work to do, eh? Jesus.
Study.
Jesus. That's a
could be another
confessional.
podcast.
That could be another Jesus. That one's going to get some bloody listens, isn't it? Every rugby player in New South Wales right now. I'm waiting for you to see if you correct me on the state. See what I've done there?
Okay, but see,
Did I just go Tracy Grimshaw?
Who?
Did I just set you up with a question?
No. But the thing is I don't know football.
Mm.
So I wouldn't want to know what team they currently play for.
Okay.
I don't know what
So
position
there's every
they play.
chance he's actually an ultimate frisbee player.
Maybe.
And she's just never had the chance to
Maybe.
watch him on telly.
Maybe.
He goes, yeah, I play footy. You go, who for? He doesn't play.
Like, he doesn't.
It's safe. Maybe it's not.
Maybe after this podcast, when the cameras are off and the mics are off, I'll let you.
Yeah, that would be good.
So you can
That would be
bounce
good.
that. Yeah.
That would be good. And you can DM me and I probably won't tell you. I won't tell you. Because what happens in the confessional stays in the confessional. As any good captain would. Well, hey, we've been going for...
A long time.
We've been going here for 1 hour and 11 minutes, which is actually...
angel numbers.
Angel numbers.
Yeah.
It's just because there's 3 angels in the room. You know how it is.
Something like that.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad that you made the trip down. No, my pleasure. My pleasure. As so many other guests will in the course of the coming weeks. And if you're listening this or watching this, all of Ruby's social links will be in the description. You can get around that. I would encourage you to go and follow her on social, to go and interact with her, send her a lovely message and let her know that you were a part of today's show experience, that you tuned in, that you loved it. Remember that to support this show, you can subscribe, you can like, you can share, you can leave 5-star ratings and reviews. Just send it to one friend. That's all we ask. Share it around. Share the love.
Share it with someone who needs to hear it.
Exactly. And just thank you, as always. Thank you to the Duff Man behind the camera, snapping away. I'm going to have to edit at least me on those photos, not Rubes. She's
Please
glowing.
edit me. I woke up at 5. My eye bags are like...
She's glowing. I'm not. But whilst we're sitting in this amazing new studio, I hope you're loving it, and there's still a few things to happen. There's still a few things to do to get it up to scratch. We've got some new mics coming in. We've got a TV that's going to look really impressive, but it's more so just for the branding.
It won't even turn on. It'll just be like
It's just there, just in case. But thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you really enjoyed today's episode. As I said, share it around, subscribe, love it, listen to it, watch it, reach out. I love when people reach out and say that they're enjoying the show. It is the captain of the ship signing off. Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a
My
pleasure.
absolute pleasure. We're going to go enjoy some brekkie and potentially a third coffee. We're out.